Japan by River Cruise is made possible thanks to the kind generosity of our sponsors.
Ohio gozaimasu from your friends at High Horse Language Learning. Are you tired of buying products that put the pressure on you to improve your Japanese ability? Well, how about trying out our new audio recording series that won't make you any better, but it will make you feel better than other people who are worse than you. We've compiled hours of tape of celebrities promoting movies and albums at press junkets in Japan that are sure to make you say, "What?" Hear Tom Cruise almost say, "Oisashiburi." Hear Ariana Grande get in the neighborhood of "Konnichiwa." And hear all your favorite actors and actresses call all of their fans psycho. You might be a struggling N5 level Japanophile noob on a long path to nowhere, but after hearing our series, you'll be sure to say, "Well, at least I'm doing better than that rich, famous, gorgeous person." So check out High Horse Language Learning today. Welcome back to Japan by River Cruise. I'm Bobby Judo.
And I'm Ollie Horn.
On today's show, you know how some people buy an extra seat at the movie theater so they don't have to sit next to a stranger? Well, we take a look at a Japanese guy who did basically that, except also fraud. Also, Ollie's got your River Cruise recommendation. Yeah, Ollie?
Yes, Bobby. After reports that sexual harassment in the workplace has actually increased after large swathes of the working population are now working in isolation from home, a Tokyo cruise company has started a new co-working space cruise marketed at individuals who need a reason, any reason, to distract them from the temptation of touching themselves for a few hours.
Plus, a two-part look at Japanese versions of the popular Tunnel of Love style River Cruise attraction. This week, a company launches a campaign offering free cruises for newlyweds on the condition that they can prove that they've been married for less than 10 days and are at least 6 months pregnant. We'll see how the company's doing in the face of the overwhelming response. But first, Soap Talk.
Bobby Judah, how's your week been?
Good. I'm on location. I'm doing a cycle around Japan shoot for NHK Worlds. We're in Kagawa Prefecture. I was riding through some areas of Takamatsu today, which is why I am, as you pointed out when you saw me on the webcam, dressed like a stripper.
You look like a stripper. You're wearing, this is a real treat. So you're in fine form, may I say?
Yes, thank you.
And you're wearing a vest, a white vest, and some kind of straps,
which you can see my nipples through, and then so.
No, that's the funny thing. I can't see your nipples because the two dungaree straps are in the way. So then, when you remove the straps, that I can then see your pronounced nipples. But so let's keep the straps on. This is a family show. Cool. Do you actually have to cycle for the TV show? I presumed that they just do a nice shot of you cycling, then you all hop in a van and then continue to the next spot.
There is a lot of that, but I did cycle I think 20 kilometers today, all told. And then tomorrow It'll be maybe 15. The day after, I think I'm scheduled for 30. It it depends on weather and how packed they made the schedule. So if we have a lot of places to hit and a lot of things to experience and eat and stop along the way, then they might, say that we've traveled 40 kilometers in a day and you've actually done 70% of that by car. But we've got great weather. We don't have a too tight schedule. We've got 6 days on the road. So I'm going to be biking a lot of it this time.
But they don't film you cycling all of that time, do they?
No, they don't. I mean, if I'm on the cycle, they are filming. So
right.
I'm not traveling on the bike the entire time through.
I was going to say, because it'd be pretty unfair if the crew goes in a car, they're like, "Oh, we'll see you there."
Yeah.
They pack their cameras away.
But if they did film me, if I did ride the entire trip and they filmed all of that, it would be a nightmare to edit.
Yeah, pointless.
Yeah. But I'm at a hotel for the second night in a row, and I just had a little ordeal here where they threw out my medicine. I'm getting a cold, and I was worried that I would get the cold and lose my voice in the middle of the trip and not have access to a doctor. And so I got a bunch of antibiotics and throat and voice medicine ahead of time.
Because Japan just lets you get antibiotics like it's candy.
I know a guy. I've got a regular guy. I'm going to be out of town for a little while, and I'm a little worried. He's like, "I got you." Yeah.
Is that guy a doctor?
I I feel like I shouldn't say anything more, because I don't want him to lose his medical license. He is a doctor currently. He might not be next week.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thankfully, there's nothing. There's it's not like there's a global pandemic going on to remind us about the importance of herd immunity.
Yeah.
And human resistance to pathogens.
Mm-hmm.
And this shoot is
the hotel threw out my medicine. You derailed the story.
Yeah, I haven't derailed the story. I've come back to it. I was like, this shoot is important. So you can't get ill, and so they book you in nice hotels so nice that they want your room to look so immaculate. They're like, medicine, that's cluttering up the zen. Get it out.
Well, I think it's in a plastic bag, and inside the plastic bag is a paper bag, and then inside the paper bag is like 3 different kinds of medicine. And I guess they looked at the plastic bag and didn't see anything like substantial in it and assumed it was garbage and threw it out. And I'm like 99% sure I didn't put it in the garbage can. I wouldn't bet anyone's life or career on it. But
what do you mean career as a cleaner?
Yeah, as a cleaner, because they found it. They found it in the garbage, and they came up to apologize. But the finding it was funny because she was like, well, can you describe it? I was like, well, it's a white plastic bag that's got the name of the drugstore written on it. And she's like, what's the name of the drugstore? I'm like, I don't know, but it's a drugstore.
but also, she says that as if like you've left a phone charger and she's having to rummage through a box of phone chargers.
Yeah.
They've obviously not got a box of medicine that we've taken from our customers' hotel rooms.
So I tell them you threw out my medicine, and she was like, can you describe it? I tell her about the bag, and then inside I'm like, inside is a paper bag, and inside that there's 3 kinds of medicine. The bag should have my name written on it in Romaji. And there's 3 kinds of medicine inside. And she's like, okay, can you describe what the medicine looks like? And I'm like, I don't know. There's 3 different kinds. And she's like, would you say it's like,
I didn't get this medicine from a doctor, so it's not gonna look like you expect.
She asked me, is it like, it's big enough that it would fit in your palm? And I'm like, I didn't leave a couple of capsules out on the nightstand. Did you accidentally brush them into the garbage? This is like,
she's like, oh yeah, that, and my defibrillator too. So anyway, you found it.
Yeah.
And so you're now taking trash medicine that's been in the trash.
Yeah, trash medicine. But they brought up some complimentary cup noodles, so I'm taking my trash medicine with trash food.
Good. That's a nice way of. I mean, I'm taking diet pills, right? And I always do that with just a pint of cup noodle juice. Okay, so
it's like it's a spoonful of pork fat makes the medicine go down. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One line which I keep remembering from The Simpsons whenever I'm putting gravy on something is Homer having the realization when he says to a doctor, "What? Wait a minute! You doctors have been telling us to drink 8 glasses of gravy a day." I think of that every time I eat gravy. But other than that, you've had a good week?
Yeah. I want to bitch about one more thing, if you don't mind. Let me ask your opinion on this. I was at an event. I was hosting an event for Chuck, a friend who
CC Cafe and now
CC
Cheers.
Cafe, now Cheers, who used to host the venue for a lot of Comedy Fukuoka nights.
The original first ever stand-up comedy night was hosted at Chuck's venue.
But so I was there hosting, and I ran into a guy who he performs at some of the events that I've hosted before. We have a friendly relationship. He is a relatively new foreigner to Japan. He lives in Fukuoka. He does not live in Saga.
Brian.
He has never seen me on Saga TV. He knows me. He knows who I am. He does not live in Saga. He has never seen me on Saga TV. And he introduced me to a handful of his other friends as the guy from Saga TV. What do you think about that?
It just was. I don't think about it. Maybe it's just okay. So some perspective is needed here, right? Yeah. For those that don't know about Saga TV, Saga TV is. Let me put it this way. It's not even impressive to be on Saga TV to people who live in Saga.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like an NHK brand on your CV.
Yeah, no. So Saga TV is the
let me make it even more clear.
Go ahead.
I'll make it even more clear. Saga TV was my main TV work. So And so your point is you're on far more impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
So
You're on NHK. You've got all the KBC stuff. You're Japan by River Cruise.
Japan by River Cruise. Full disclosure, I owe everything in my current career, to Saga TV. They are the first people who put me on TV. I think if you added up all the money that I've made in entertainment over the years, they still are the bulk of it. I still do a weekly job for them, and I wouldn't be where I am without their support. That said, in terms of status, it is currently the least of what I do. It is the least of what I do. And here is a guy who knows all of the other stuff I do, has never seen Saga TV, and went out of his way to introduce me as the guy from Saga TV.
I reckon he thinks it's impressive. It's probably that. He probably isn't looking to belittle you. It sounds impressive to someone that's never heard of it. But people don't realize that, Saga TV, on an average Saga TV shoot, the guy that is doing the filming is also the guy doing the directing and the editing, and also buying the lunch and the driving, and where needed, the sound and or presenting.
That was actually just for your shoots. My shoots had a crew.
Right. Okay. Sure. Well,
but he was introducing me to Japanese people from Fukuoka, and he is also a guy who's got designs. He's actually going to be super famous in a little while. He's a singer, and he's making moves, and he's very good.
So you must hate him.
And he's got the connections. I didn't until he introduced me as the guy from Saga TV. Because I people have done this to me before, and it's a way of establishing that I'm lesser in a way.
But if he's new to Japan, he might not know the status that Saga TV has.
But the point is that he doesn't know anything about Saga TV. He would have had to go out of his way to know that I was on Saga TV. He knows me from hosting Sunset Live. He knows that I've done Sekai Fushigi Hakken. He knows that I'm a regular on TV in Fukuoka. And so my point is, like, it was a really, this is super petty of me, and I'm aware of it because I've got ego issues. But he went.
I wouldn't call them issues. Far more substantial than that.
He jumped through hoops to make it a point that he was saying Saga TV. And his TV credit, he's been featured twice on You wa Nani shi ni Nippon e.
Oh my god. Which is a program which literally anyone that turns up at Narita Airport, they can get on that show. All you got to do is look gormless down a camera lens and say something moderately praiseworthy about Japan, and you'll get on that show.
So I do think it was a dick swinging move. I don't know if I want to call it I've always been friendly and supportive, and I still think we're friendly and consider him. I don't not like him anymore because of this. But when they brought You wa Nani shi ni Nippon e to the event to film his segment the first time, it was an event that I was hosting, and I did kind of go out of my way to be like, I know that as the MC in this karaoke contest that I'm announcing whether he wins or loses, I kind of play an important role in the narrative of the night. But
you have just belittled him by calling it a karaoke contest. Not a singing competition. A karaoke contest.
It's a karaoke contest. It's very high level.
That's like calling the Miss World competition. That's like calling Miss World competition a best of Instagram snaps lineup.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. So
anyway, but I did.
He's good looking. He's talented, and you hate him. I get it.
I did go out of my way to be like, I know that my role might be kind of important in terms of the narrative for this episode, but I do not want to be on this show. I do not like this show, and I refuse to grant you permission to use my face in this show.
Good. And did they use your name and face anyway?
They did not.
Because they've done this before. So I got approached. Yeah. I was filming for some other TV show. What's it called? The massive festival where all of Hakata's closed for the day. Where the big parade. What's it called?
There's two. There's Dontaku, and then there's Hakata Gion Yamakasa.
That one, the Yamakasa Festival.
Yeah.
And I was clearly in the middle of filming something, but I was the only foreigner about. They said, "We're from Nani Shini. You are Nani Shini Nihon Air. Can we interview you?" And I straight up said to them, no, I don't like your show. I don't grant you permission.
Yeah.
And then I did a further dick swinging move because she then went, oh, it'll only take 5 minutes. I was like, please send your request to my agent.
Yeah.
Which is another massive, just like an FU. And the reason I did that was because this was very, very soon after they broadcast a segment where a guy was walking down the street. I think he was playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about? It was a black guy.
I don't know the segment now.
Well, basically, they filmed him saying, "I don't want to be on TV," and broadcast that without subtitles.
Yeah, I've seen them do that before. I saw them do that to a white guy, like sitting in Nakasa in the middle of the night, and they were like, "What's this weird foreigner doing in Nakasa in the middle of the night?" Which Nakasa is Fukuoka's red light district, and he was looking something up on his iPad or whatever, and they approached him, and he was like, "They said, can we interview you?" And he said, "No." And they said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because it's the middle of the night and I'm sitting alone in a park. This is not the time or the place for an interview. I feel very uncomfortable with this and I do not give you permission to film me." And they broadcast it. I know that because I watched it in the broadcast. And they do it because they assume that foreigners are traveling through. They're not going to see the show. Even if they did, they wouldn't be able to pursue legal recourse. But if a Japanese person did that in an interview, they would definitely not use that clip because it would be a problem.
Absolutely not. And this show is so popular, though. It's a massive show. Yeah, everyone's heard of it.
If on the off chance that the guy is listening to this and has not hate turned it off by now, I only bring it up because people have done this to me a handful of times, and I always kind of feel like it's like a underhanded kind of like a pissing contest kind of, and it's probably subconscious. My karaoke contest was totally subconscious. But I don't have any hard feelings against him. I just was wondering what you thought.
Next time you want to bring Bobby onto stage and belittle him, just reference he's the co-host of the Japan by River Cruise podcast. Shall we look at the news?
What's going on in news this week, Ollie?
It's a big week for news, but the story I want to talk about is the Osaka man that reserved and cancelled 1,873 seats at 2 baseball games in order to get more space for himself. This guy... Wow. So, firstly, the first thing I was thinking about was, can you even do this, right? Can you even reserve seats and then cancel them? Turns out you can, right? It turns out they've got a full refund policy. So, I think the stadium's partly at fault for not taking some kind of booking fee. And then I thought, surely there would be some system where they would notice that the same guy, a guy called Shibamura, Mr. Shibamura, that the same guy's booked all these seats. But he didn't. He painstakingly and meticulously created a series of fake identities.
Wow.
In order to... Yeah, absolutely crazy what this guy did.
1,873.
Yes, 1,873 seats over the space of 2 games, 28th and 29th, at the Osaka Kyocera Dome. And then he cancelled them all apart from his final 2. I do have this image of him meticulously going through and cancelling all the tickets and then getting really, really nervous as he approaches the final 2. He's like, hang on, have I done these already? Have I not?
Yeah.
He goes through the process and cancels them all. But he didn't. He managed to do it, and actually you can see there's a video online which we will link to in the description in the show notes, where you can see there's like a big gaping hole at the back of the stadium, and just you can't see his face, but I imagine he's sat there looking really smug. But apparently it is a crime. And of course it's a crime.
Well, it's got to be a crime. I mean, it's fraud. I mean, you enter into a contract to pay for these tickets, and by canceling all of them in bad faith, you're causing the stadium to lose money.
Yeah, I remember. So the article which I'm reading from now, it doesn't actually say the exact law that he broke, but I think it must have to. Yeah, but there obviously is some criminal law about this, and of course he's then very easy to identify because, he he was sat there.
You said the dates for these games were the 28th and the 29th of last month?
29th of September it was.
Oh, September? Where the hell did this article come from?
That's interesting, actually. The article is recent. Maybe it's just because he's been charged.
Yeah, I guess maybe they just tracked him down or he's just been charged. It's interesting. I saw another news article the other day that it was like something popped up that I saw that it was a recent article, and then when I read what it was about, it was like from like half a year ago.
Thankfully, we pick such interesting stories. This content is evergreen. So, for listeners who are not listening to this during the month of March 2020, well done for surviving the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's nice that you're listening to this podcast after our deaths.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful to have you here. Although this does make me think about kind of what he did. What he did is like, it is wrong.
Yeah.
But it's only wrong because he took it too far. Right. So, like, if he'd booked just one seat either side and then cancelled them, maybe no one would care, right? Maybe that is. I think an easy way to think about morals is your behavior universalizable, right? Are you allowed? Can you justify your behavior by going, well, I'm doing this, plus if I continually did this and everyone else did this, the world would still function in a way that I'm happy with. And most times when you're doing some kind of moral transgression, you justify it to yourself by going, but it's just me and it's just now. Whereas really what you should be thinking is, well, if everyone thought that way, is it still moral? And it reminded me of a couple of times where I've done stuff which, if I did it all the time, I think it's a dog shit thing to do. It's a horrible thing to do. But I'll give you two examples of kind of Japan hacks, which I am proud to have come up with. The first is I had to return a mic stand to someone. Couldn't find a convenient drop-off point, so just used a lost and found office.
I've done that. I needed to hand off something to somebody, and I just like put it in a little cheap like 300 yen pouch that I'd bought and wrote their name on it. Was like, I think someone dropped this, and turned it in at a station.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's and I think if you did that all the time, they'd start to cotton onto it. But once or twice, fine. Another one is I was flying internationally into Japan, and I had a week in Tokyo, and then I was going. Then I was flying south down to Fukuoka, and I had a big suitcase and a carry-on, and I didn't need anything in my big suitcase. And so what I did was I walked out of Tokyo Narita Airport with just my carry-on. And as soon as I got on the bus, I called Jetstar and I was like, you will not believe what I've just done. I'm so shocked and embarrassed, but I've forgotten to pick up my suitcase. And they said, "Oh my goodness, you must be in such a panic." I was like, I am. I'm very sad. They said, "We'll go and find it for you." And if I'd taken the suitcase into town, not only would it be a huge ball ache, but I would have had to pay like 1,000 yen a day to store it somewhere. So I saved like $70 to. What they did was they stored it safely for me, and it was like a VIP service, because then when I went back to the airport to pick it up, I didn't have to like go to a separate coin locker section. There was a member of staff there waiting for my with me with my luggage at the entrance. I kind of felt like I was traveling business class. So I don't think I'm that cross with this guy. But I just think he took it too far.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're engaging in a little bit of the fallacy of the beard thing, and like it's not the number of hairs that make the beard; it's whether or not there's hair at all. It's that issue of how many seats. Do you think if he reserved and canceled 2 seats on either side of him, it would have been okay? Or at what point does it become a beard, Ollie?
What he said to the police was that he wanted to watch the game with no people around, and he wanted to appear on TV. So I think for the fact that he admitted that he wanted to make a spectacle means that this is amoral. This wasn't like if, for example, he was like, yeah, I suffer from claustrophobia, or I get anxiety in crowds of people. I love baseball. I can't afford the tickets. I don't know. There's probably a way he could wriggle out of this. But yeah, the guy's clearly a dick. But what I'm saying is, most of us are dicks, and we need to be tolerant of the fact that occasionally we do dick things.
Yeah, I mean, and if we're gonna start throwing out dickish things you can do as Japan hacks, may I suggest if you're ever at a Dormy Inn and you want some free cup noodles, throw your medicine in the garbage.
Can I do an even better hack? If you want some illicit medicine, just check into a hotel where Bobby Judo's staying and just rummage through his trash. I think we have time for one more quick story.
Yeah, what's going on?
So, have you heard of the coronavirus?
You know, it's interesting. I talked to my brother earlier today, and he said that without realizing it, every time that I've talked to him in the last couple of months and talked about the coronavirus, I've been calling it the coronavirus.
Is that what you say in Japanese?
Yeah, in Japanese,
Oh.
virus is weed.
That's ridiculous. Right, it's impossible to take it seriously with that name.
Yeah, and I actually went back. I panicked. I was like, have I been saying that on the podcast the whole time? And I've been getting it right on the podcast, but for some reason, whenever I talked to him, I was referring to it as the coronavirus.
It's now a big thing. So it's caused me a huge headache. I was supposed to go to Melbourne for the comedy festival. Can't do that anymore because that's been cancelled. That's the main reason I can't do it.
Yeah.
But then I was going to go. Then I was just going to go anyway because I booked the flights now, and then blah blah blah. Woe is me. I love how many comedians online are pretending like somehow have created these fantasy earnings. There's one comedian who I won't name who was like, I've had my next 12 gigs cancelled and it's going to cost me £3,000. It's like, you are not being paid £250 a spot for every one of your gigs. People are just inventing money which they were never going to earn anyway. I mean, that is not to say that the arts is not absolutely decimated right now. And I have a lot of friends who are like genuinely worried about how they're going to pay their mortgages.
It's not just arts; it's sports as well. I mean, like all the baseball games are being played to stadiums with no audiences in Japan. Hey, that dude should go now.
I was going to say, but playing to no audiences, that is what stand-up comedy is to me.
Yeah.
But so talking of shortages, and I'm now stuck in Malaysia because I was actually planning today, on the day of this record, to go to Bali because I'm a basic bitch, and that all the flights got stopped, got banned, and no foreigners are allowed to enter back into Malaysia. So like, all in all, not good. But and people are panic buying like crazy. It seems in every country now.
Yeah.
And anyway, so there's a sign that someone posted on Twitter, which is due to the coronavirus, our supply of adult goods is low. Our next shipment is not expected until late April, so please make your purchase soon. The item which is being sold out of, is that how you say it? Sold out of? The item which is selling out, is the male masturbatory devices, which are big business in Japan. Tenga. And
you had some extended stand-up bits about Tenga.
Did I?
Yeah, about purchasing Tenga, how Tenga was available next to like the broom or the mop or the plunger or something like that at Don Quixote.
I vaguely remember this, and about how it's an impulse buy.
Yeah.
Well, I have a Tenga story. So I've never bought a Tenga, but I was given one. This is one of my really early Japan stories. First time I was in Tokyo by myself, I thought I'd do the budget thing and just go and stay in a manga kissa, a manga cafe. Because these manga cafes kind of have little private booths, and you pay maybe $20 and you can have that booth for yourself.
Hey, real quick, can you say manga cafe 3 more times in a row, and we'll see if we can sell that clip to High Horse Language Learnings. Feel better about your Japanese. Say manga cafe a few more times, Ollie.
Manga kissa. So this is a good Japan travel hack, right? If you're short of cash, go and stay in these places because you pay about $20, and it's not a private room, but it's enough to have a nap. And certainly when you're young and on a low budget. So I've just been distracted by the fact that Bobby is now actually legit stripping off, literally taking his trousers off.
Yeah,
that's fine. Just showing me his lycra. And so I went to what I thought was a manga cafe, and it was a bit different to the ones I'd normally been to, but I'd only have been to one or two. And what was weird about this place was the counter had a it's hard to describe. It had like a barrier in front of it, so I couldn't see the guy's face. So the guy that was serving me was stood basically behind a counter. But then his face was also masked by more counters, so I could only really see his waist. And he was like, how long will you be staying? And I was like, oh, I'll take the 8-hour pack, please, which would take me through the night. And then he said, rentaru wa? And would you like anything to rent? And I didn't really know what that meant. And I presumed it was like, do I need like a towel or something? And I went, daijoubu desu. I really didn't understand really the question he was asking. I just went, daijoubu desu. And then he went, this is your key. And he gave my key. And he said, these are your amenities. And in the box of amenities, I didn't look at the box of amenities. I just took them straight up to my room.
Yeah.
And the room was not as I was expecting. It was basically a fully wiped down kind of leather, like fake leather wall and fake leather couch and one massive plasma screen. And that was all that was in the room, along with a box of tissues. and the penny only dropped that rentado means what movie do you want to rent?
Right.
When I looked inside this box, and inside the box was some wet wipes and a knockoff Tenga. So it wasn't even like a proper Tenga, like it nice packaging, vaguely looks sexy to the extent that something like that can look sexy. It was literally a tin. It was like a tin of baked beans with a moist sponge inside. And I mean, when you're that age, really you can knock one out to anything. But I drew the line at, not only was I not watching pornography, that black screen was acting as a mirror and reflecting me back in this chair, just curiously looking at this tin can like an ape would look at a mobile phone.
I think it's interesting, though. I'd like to go back and talk to that guy, the clerk who you could only see his waist, and ask him what he thought about the first ever person in the history of the store to take the 8-hour package in the masturbation booth.
Also with no stimulus.
You didn't end up using it then?